The first thing Becky noticed that morning was that her stomach did not belong to her anymore. It had turned into something unpredictable, something with its own sense of humor. One moment it was quiet. The next it was staging acrobatics that made her question every life decision she had made in the past 24 hours. "Just so you know," she said, leaning one hand on the counter as if steadying herself against invisible waves. "I had the chicken tacos last night, and my stomach is doing somersaults." The diner smelled like grilled meat, citrus, and something faintly fried that clung to the air like a stubborn memory. It was comforting. Usually. Today, it felt like a challenge. "But our specials look good," she added, glancing at the board as if it might argue back. "We have tilapia, which is some kind of greasy white fish floating in cheese." Dan made a face that suggested he had just imagined the dish in far too much detail. "Please do not make me carry that out here." "Now that you mention it," someone at the table said with a grin. "That is exactly what I want. I am going to go exotic tonight." "Beck." The table chuckled. It was the kind of easy laughter that came from people who had known each other long enough to forgive each other's bad jokes. "I will have the pupusas," came another voice, dramatic and playful. "Take me away to El Salvador. Look, that is fried, and that is covered in some kind of chunky sauce." Becky pressed her lips together. "I cannot do that right now." Her eyes drifted to Neil. "You go first. I am still looking." Neil adjusted himself in his seat. The kind of small movement that revealed a man who was always trying to take up less space than he actually occupied. "Okay," he said carefully. "I would love the 3 shrimp tacos." "Pick something else," Becky said immediately. He blinked. "Why?" "A lot of shrimp is peeled by Thai kids forced into slave labor," she replied, her tone suddenly serious in a way that made everyone pause. "So you think you are eating something fancy, but really you are exploiting children." The table went quiet for half a second. Then Neil, trying to recover, said, "I have an idea. What if I just had one small shrimp taco, and I feel bad about it?" "Have the chili relleno," Becky said, waving a hand. "They are really good here. They are vegan. I do not really like those." "No. You will." "Would you guys hurry up?" Someone else cut in, half laughing, half impatient. "I am riding a wave here." "I will have a shrimp burrito," Dan said decisively. "And I will have Neil's shrimp tacos. I do not know if it is those Thai kids' sweat or tears," he added with a grin, "but they are delicious." Becky shook her head, though she could not help the faint smile tugging at her mouth. "Hey," Dan went on, narrowing his eyes at her. "I am not buying this food poisoning thing. I think you are hungover." "I am not hungover." "Hold on," he said, pointing at her plate. "You are going to have to eat this way down there. You and I are going to a meeting tonight." The conversation shifted, as it often did, into something else entirely. "So, Neil," Dan said, turning toward him, "what do you do for a living?" "I am a preschool teacher." Dan raised an eyebrow. "Preschool? Huh. Is that like playing with blocks and stuff?" Neil straightened slightly. "Blocks and stuff? They are far beyond that now." He paused. "Actually, no," he admitted. "Blocks are a big part of it." Dan nodded with satisfaction. "The old ways are still the best ways. We try to inspire the children's imagination," Neil continued, "with non-specific, gender-neutral, tactile objects." Dan frowned. "Why would you do that when there is television?" Neil opened his mouth to respond, then stopped. "Excuse me," he said instead, standing up. "I just need to go." He hesitated. "Work term," he added awkwardly, then hurried off. The moment he was gone, the energy at the table shifted again. "He is great, right?" someone asked. "Yeah," came the reply. "Does he remind you of anybody?" A pause. "Not really." "Here is a clue," the first voice insisted. "I want you to figure it out." "David?" "No. No way. 2 entirely different people." A beat passed. "Wait," the second voice said slowly. That was not David. No. She is controlling Neil the same way she controlled David, came the quiet observation. He has the same jumpy, scared eyes. There was something uncomfortable in that truth. Something that settled over the table like a thin layer of dust. Are you sure that was not David? Before anyone could answer, the door opened and more voices filled the space. Sorry we are late, DJ said, stepping in with Gina close behind him. We had to get Harris to watch Mary and Mark. We told her she would get money for it. That is going to be a fight later, Gina added. Introductions followed. Laughter again. The conversation rolling forward as if it had never paused. They talked about relationships, about patterns, about the strange human habit of repeating the same choices even when they knew better. I used to have a thing for dominant women, Neil admitted when he returned. His voice softer now. It was not good for me. They would push me around, and I would feel awful. But I got over that, he added quickly. A few people exchanged looks. No, someone murmured. I think we all know who that was. Life, as it often did, moved on. Later, when the laughter had faded and the plates had been cleared, Becky stood in a different room, facing a different kind of silence. I just broke up with Neil, she said. How did he take it? He was devastated, she replied. Until I told him that he was not. There was a strange kind of humor in that. The kind that only made sense if you had lived long enough to recognize it. I cannot believe I was about to make the same mistake again, she added. It is never too late to change, came the answer. Becky nodded, though her thoughts were already somewhere else. They drifted to the moment earlier that day,